it's Jay with 1791 Actual. Thanks for stopping by. We're up to video number 7 in our series on setting up your Lee reloading dies, focusing, or using as our example 38 Special 357 dies. And so far we've been using this 4 die set, which has, we've talked about the decapping and resizing die. Then we talked about a non-Lee die that I use, and that's the RCBS Ram Prime. Then we talked about the Lee powder through expansion die, or as I call it, the case mouth expansion die, because I don't drop my powder through it. I like to put my powder in into the cases separate from that. But this is what I use to open the case mouth a little bit, so that when I get to my seating stage, that I'll be able to seat my bullet. And then we talked about the bullet seating die and how it works with the adjustable stem and the pressure bar on the inside. And then we talked about the crimp die, the factory crimp die, which has an adjustment stem here, and it's got the collar on the inside for applying the crimp. But Lee also has, and this is a 4 die set, Lee also does 3 die sets, where these 2 dies on the end are actually all one. It's a seating and crimp die. Now, if you'll recall, the seating die has one of these that presses the bullet down into the case, and it's pushed in by this cap. Okay, and you notice that the end of the die body on these are shaped the same, because they're essentially, that step is the same. Then there's this one. This has that collar on the inside that steps down, that actually creates the crimp, and you adjust it, you drive that crimp by turning the stem in. Well, how can you do that all in one? Well, it's actually not all that tough, and I don't know that I can get enough light in there for you to see this. And let's start with the seating part, since that you do that first. You'll notice that there's a shelf down in there that pin rides on, and you screw the stem in. If you can get it started, and you can hear it rattling around in there. So if you look down in there, and again, I see if I can get enough light down there to actually see it. There's the end of that stem, and that is what, when your bullet goes up in there, or when your round goes up in there, that stem is going to push that pin, and that's what's going to push the bullet down into the case. See how it's changing length because I'm moving that stem. Well, for the crimp, there's a shelf. The shelf that is on the collar in that other die, you might be able to see it right about there, toward my thumb. That is actually the crimp shelf that's going to cause the crimp on here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this O-ring out of here. I always take these. The Lee dies come. They're their jam nut is an aluminum nut, and they put this O-ring in that's fairly snug on here, but it resides in a groove in the nut. The idea is that it's supposed to be somewhat of a lock nut. I'm personally not impressed. I take the O-rings out of them and just use just the jam nut. You've seen me do that all the way through these videos. You've seen me be able to spin that without it dragging. So how do you set one of these guys up? Well, I'm glad you asked. So we're going to come over to our press, and we're going to start by let me find a case that I've done the case mouth expansion on. I know I've got a couple of them in here. That one not quite right. There, that one. I knew I had another one in there that I had expanded. So the first thing we need to do is seat our bullet. So we're going to bring our ram up. We're going to bring our die body down just until it touches the top of the case. We're not going to do that whole thing of backing the ram off and taking it down any. Not yet. We just need to stop right there. And we'll go ahead and snug that down. If you've been watching the videos so far, you know that it's not King Kong tight. So now we're going to drop our ram. We're going to back this seating stem out, way out. Set our bullet in the top. Bring it up. And then we're going to start bringing our stem down. And I can feel it touch right there. So I know it needs to go down quite a ways, so I'm going to go ahead and give this about a 1 full turn down. And we can see right there, we dropped in quite a bit. So I'm going to give it about half a turn. And we'll give it about another half a turn. And we're just about there. So this time I'm only going to give it a quarter turn. And that's close. Another quarter. Another quarter. Always take your time. Small moves. And at this point, this is where we're going to come over here. We're going to grab our caliper. It's set. This one is still set from where I set it in a previous video. Just shot that a few minutes ago, so I haven't changed this. It's still set at 1.575, and I can tell I am right in there, right at that 1.575 that I need. So we're good to go on our stem depth. Now, this is where it gets tricky, and the fact of how this is explained in the Lee pamphlet, I've said before, Lee does a really good job of providing a pamphlet in with its die sets that walks you through how to set up each of the dies. The one place where they really, in my estimation, they really fail is they don't really tell you about the die that is in this set. They tell you about the seating die and the factory crimp die. They don't tell you about the combination die, the seating and crimp. So that's actually what kind of drove me to decide to make this series of videos, because it dawned on me that a lot of people might not fully understand how to go about this. So we've got our depth set. Right now, the die body is just at the depth of where it touched the top of the case. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that when we start our crimp that we don't interfere with the bullet depth. So we're going to back this out just a couple of turns. We know that it's going to be high enough it's not going to touch the end of the bullet. We come up and kind of make sure, yep, it's not touching anything. So now we're going to loosen our jam nut. Pop that loose, back it off. I didn't pop it quite loose enough. There it is. So now we're going to back that jam nut way off. We're going to bring our case up, and now we're going to start turning the die body in. Remember, on our factory crimp die, we just had to turn the stem down and it pushed that collar down. Well, the collar is actually part of the die body for this one. So we're going to give this about one full turn. And we're going to get our press in there. And we're going to take a look. And I actually kind of over crimped this guy, which is actually very easy to do when you're using this die. You can see there, it's a pretty ugly crimp. And if I can get it to focus. Maybe we'll zoom in with it laying down next to this other one. There you can kind of see, you know, the one I did earlier has a nice little roll crimp to it. This has got, it's like it crimped it too far down. And that's because I pushed the die body down too far. So I actually should have gone only about a quarter turn down, and I would have gotten a good crimp there. Let's see, I don't think I have any others that I've actually already flared. This one, I think, that one might work. Ah, there's one that I've already done. Ah, look at that. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do that seating. We're gonna redo that seating. Back that die body out just until it touches the case. Bring our jam nut down. Snug it. Bring this up. And since I already know what my appropriate seating depth is, I'm going to put this one in that I've already done, bring it up, and I'm going to bring that seating stem down just until it touches the top of that bullet. Now my seating stem is in the right place. So now if I put a case in, now I'm going to have to undo all of these inert ones. Do another video and show how that works. And we're going to very gently raise that up, press it in, and look at that. We are set at 1.575 coal. Our length is just like our length on this one, but I don't have a crimp yet. So I'll go ahead and back that stem back out. Pop my jam nut loose. And then we'll take this one that has not been crimped, trigger the right one, set it in there, bring our ram up, bring the die body down until it touches the case. And this time I'm going to be real careful. I'm only going to give it about 1/8 of a turn. And I'm feeling it starting to crimp. And I'm around to almost 1/4 of a turn. I think I'm going to give it just a little bit more. And now we have a nice crimp. So at that point, I'm going to raise my ram. I have my crimp position set by the height of the die body. So I'll go ahead and set my jam nut. I'll bring my seating stem down just until it touches the bullet. Now, and unfortunately, now I really don't think I have any more that are ready for seating. It doesn't seem that I do. No, that's not gonna work. So, unfortunately, that means I can't demo the full process. But at that point, I would put a bullet in. I would put my case in, set the bullet in the top, raise the ram, and at that point, it's going to press it down. It's going to press the bullet down because it's going to start touching that first. The bullet's so much taller. It's going to start touching the bottom of the seating ram. It's going to press that bullet down until it gets to that shoulder, and then when you finish pressing down, it's going to apply the crimp. It takes a little bit more effort to set this up, but once you do, you can really speed through your seating and crimping process. So there it is. There you have it. There you are. There's walking through all of the different dies and some different die options. So we're going to do another video because I ended up with this ugly thing here. We're going to do a video where we're going to disassemble, because we actually need to disassemble all 3 of these. But we're going to keep one of these because everything is set so perfectly on that right now. But we're going to disassemble this and take it back through the resizing and case mouth expansion, and then we'll take it back through this die to show that process. And actually, I think we'll just use this. I'll do that off camera, but I will show how these get disassembled. So as always, appreciate you stopping by. Hope you learned something. Hope you found something interesting. If you did, make sure and like and subscribe, and hit that bell and all that kind of stuff. If you're watching this on a different platform, obviously like and subscribe isn't the right terminology, but hey, you get the idea of what you need to do. Also, make sure and share it with your friends. If you found it interesting, they might too. They might learn something. You never know. As my dad always said, if you look and listen and pay attention during the day, you just might learn something. But again, as always, thanks for stopping by. God bless, and see you on the other side.